Welcome to this YouTube channel. In this video we are going to talk about the top 10 most haunted houses or mansions in the world. Before starting this video, like this video, and subscribe to our channel for future updates. On Halloween, nothing beats a good ghost story, and our world is full of them. UFO sightings in Transylvania, murders on luxury cruise ships, and ghosts roaming the corridors of British castles. No matter where you go, you're bound to come across a haunted location, as well as a ghost tour to accompany it. Even if you're not a believer in ghosts, some of the most haunted places are worth visiting for their magnificent architecture, jaw-dropping locations, or fascinating histories. Here are the top 10 most haunted houses or mansions in the world. Number 10. The Winchester House. If this mystery house isn't genuinely haunted, and the US government doesn't intervene, it is still considered one of the scarier construction projects in history, according to the Department of Commerce. Sarah Winchester, the wife of the rifle's son, makers saw a seer after the death of her husband and child, who claimed her family had been murdered by the ghosts of people who had died from bullets fired by her family's rifles. The seer indicated that the only way to appease these spirits was to keep building on the family's mansion. That's exactly what Sarah Winchester asked for. For 38 years, workers worked on the land at all hours of the day and night. The 160-room home, which was constructed entirely without the use of plans, is genuinely odd, with staircases to nowhere, doors that open onto brick walls, or 10-foot drops and a window with an etched glass spider web theme among the creepier elements. Number 9. The White House is America's most famous residence, and it is also said to be one of the country's most haunted. According to legend, some of its residents were so attached to the seat of American power that they preferred to stay even after they died. According to rumors, the ghost of Abigail Adams, John's wife, folds washing in the East Room while Dolly Madison's soul hangs out in the Rose Garden, and, of course, Honest Abe may pay a visit to the Lincoln bedroom. Number 8. Lemp Mansion. Even the best beer in the world won't guarantee happiness. Between 1904 and 1949, 4 members of the family committed themselves, 3 of them within the 33-room Victorian mansion where they are said to still linger, frightening guests of the converted restaurant and inn. It has now been transformed into a restaurant and inn where visitors can stay the night and even enjoy a ghost tour. Number 7. The Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa, was where Josiah and Sarah Moore, their 4 children, and 2 visiting guests were bludgeoned to death on June 10, 1912. The crime is still unsolved, and most of the house has been preserved in its original state from that fatal night. The residence has no running water or electricity, which adds to the unique ambience for those who have paid upwards of $400 to spend the night. But go to the Villisca Axe Murder House at your own risk. A paranormal investigator who booked a room in 2014 ended up stabbing himself the next morning. Number 6. The Sally House, Atchison, Kansas. According to legend, the reason of all the mayhem at one of America's most terrifying haunted houses is a small girl who was the victim of a botched appendectomy during a house call around the turn of the century. In the 1990s, a family that lived in the Sally house recounted their experience on the television show Sightings, which included reports of flying objects, regular apparitions and scratching, as well as price gouging and shoving, primarily directed at the male owner. The mansion is now empty, but it is a favorite haunt for paranormal investigators, and anyone may reserve it for a night's stay for around $100 per person, if you're brave enough. Number 5. Newton Home, Carmarthenshire. Newton House, a 17th-century house with a shady history, is located on the majestic grounds of Dinever Nature Reserve. Lady Eleanor Cavendish was killed by a suitor in the 1720s after she spurned his overtures. A choking sensation has been reported by some visitors in particular areas of the property. If you miss out on a ghostly encounter, see if you can spot the estate's other residents, such as polecats, fallow deer, and badgers. Fashions come and go, and Newton House was no exception. The home was given a makeover in the 1850s to give it a mock Gothic appearance. So, while the house's core is Jacobean, and some ceilings from that period still exist, much of what we see now is from the mid-Victorian and Edwardian periods. The home is also reputed to be haunted. In fact, it is said to be the most haunted house in the National Trust's care, and has been featured on the TV show, Most Haunted. Number 4. Herrera Mansion, Tiaong Stone Residence, is the oldest house in Tiaong, Quezon, and was designed by renowned architect Thomas Mappa in the late 1920s. The massive exterior, along with a statue of the Noli Me Tangere character Elias battling a crocodile, provides for the perfect opening shot for a horror movie. An elderly couple has been spotted roaming about the house, while headless troops moved to and from the gates, according to witnesses. Chains have also been dragged about the property, according to visitors. Number 3. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania's Farnsworth House. The epic Civil War fight at Gettysburg was one of the bloodiest in the war's 4-year history. During the Civil War, Farnsworth House, named after Brigadier General Elon J. Farnsworth, was home to Confederate sharpshooters, who left at least 100 bullet holes. It later served as a makeshift hospital before being converted into a 10-room bed and breakfast. The building is said to be haunted by 14 ghosts, including a midwife named Mary who likes to soothe guests by sitting on their beds. Number 2. The Joshua Ward House in Salem, Massachusetts, was built in the 1780s for merchant Joshua Ward on a foundation that had previously belonged to Sheriff George Corwin. During the Salem witch trials in the 1690s, Corwin, also known as the Strangler, was responsible for the deaths of a number of alleged witches. It is alleged that the spirits of his victims are still present in the house today. The building's facade is made of plain brick set in a Flemish bond pattern. Storms destroyed its 4 chimneys in the early years, and again in the 1938 New England hurricane. In the 19th century, the house served as a tavern. It was erected on the same property as Sheriff George Corwin's previous residence, which is famously linked to the Salem witch trials. In 1978, the home was added to the National Register of Historic Places, and in 1983, it became part of the downtown Salem district. It was converted into a hotel in 2015. Number 1. The Amityville house was the location of a horrible family murder on November 14, 1974, when 23-year-old Ronald DeFeo Jr. shot and killed his parents and 4 younger siblings at 112 Ocean Avenue, in Amityville, NY, a wealthy Long Island suburb. However, the family who moved there little over a year after the killings is responsible for much of the mystique surrounding the house. Knowing about the sad events that had occurred, George and Kathy Lutz and their 4 children agreed to tour the property, which had a 4,000-square-foot house, waterfront access, a boathouse, heated swimming pool, garage, and full basement, and eventually purchased it. As soon as Kathy came into the house, she had a smile on her face that simply shined, which hadn't happened in any of the prior properties we looked at, George Lutz claimed later at a paranormal convention, recalling the events at Amityville. "I knew this was going to be our dream home from the look on her face," I said. But things changed quickly after we moved in. Even after having the house blessed by a priest at the urging of a friend, George and Kathy said strange things started happening. Banging noises, untraceable footsteps, mysterious and pervasive odors, green jelly-like substances leaking from walls, toilet water turning back, swarms of houseflies, and eyes peering in from outside the windows. Even the family's conduct began to shift. George became increasingly ill, went days without showering, and lost weight, while Kathy suffered from night terrors. The kids started fighting with each other. The Lutzes decided to leave the house temporarily after the disturbances became worse. However, the night they were supposed to leave turned out to be their final night there. Although George Lutz is hesitant to go into detail about the events of that night, he has previously stated that the hardest thing for those people who experience a haunting is the loss of being able to communicate with anyone else about it. Not it's talked about, it's not understood. And when it happens to you, you become an alien to everyone else. George's haunting experiences were very wide-ranging, according to Kaplan, and likely originated from a pre-existing preoccupation with the paranormal. What do you think about this video? Do let us know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from us again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.